everyone. I'm going to be calling the meeting to order. Michelle, can you please read the sunshine law?
This is a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Keyport, Tuesday, March 16th, 2021. Let the minutes show that adequate notice of this meeting as required by Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, has been provided by the annual notice, which has been posted on the bulletin boards filed with the Borough Clerk and has been sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Independent, the Star Ledger, and the Two River Times.
Thank you. Can I please have a roll call?
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Council President Good.
Here.
Councilmember Pacheco. Councilmember Fotopoulos.
Here.
Councilmember McDermott.
Here.
Councilmember Davidson.
Here.
And Councilmember McNamara.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can everyone join me in saluting the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If everyone could please remain standing and join me in tonight's moment of silence, which is in honor of Mrs. Anne Marie Panzarelli. As a Keyport resident for over 28 years, Anne loved her immediate family dearly, but she also considered anyone in Keyport as part of her extended family. Anne was a dedicated public official over the last decade in her roles while serving on the Keyport Board of Education. Anne was one of the first people present at the table when we began our articulation meetings with the borough and the school district over 5 years ago, and has attended each one over the years to help collaborate on different ideas and procedures. And also served on our community by volunteering for many nonprofit organizations in Keyport. We, as a dais, are wearing red lapel ribbon in honor of all that she has done to help make Keyport what it is today. Her presence will surely be missed by all. Please continue to keep her family and friends and our community as a whole in your thoughts during this difficult time. Thank you. Next, we have a proclamation, National Irish American Heritage Month. Whereas National Irish American Heritage Month was first celebrated in 1991. In an effort to save time, we're going to hold off on reading this proclamation. It is posted on the borough website and it's on social media pages. We're going to go into committee reports. I lied. First, we have public comment. Before we open to public comment, I would like to mention that after communication with the Kiwanis organization yesterday, I'm requesting to table Resolution 8929 to the April 6th meeting by their request and mine. Also, please note that Resolution 8821, a revised resolution, was emailed to all the council members today by the clerk with a non-substantive change. It was just a matter of the wording that New Jersey Department of Transportation wanted switched. Do any council members have any other agenda items that they would be requesting to pull this evening before we open to the public?
Mayor, oops.
Councilman Fotopoulos?
Thank you, Mayor. Fulton Street, I don't have a
a particular issue with making that the street and the neighborhood to get paved, the neighboring streets. But how did we come about choosing that neighborhood? Was that done?
That was last year when everyone put in the recommendations into Mr. Tom Henshaw, and then he prioritized the suggestions by all council members.
Okay.
Yeah, Dennis, he asked us what we thought. I think there were a couple of different options, and I think everybody agreed that Fulton Street was the
It was
worst
8th and
of the bunch.
7th, and we would do parts of Fulton.
Okay. Okay. Sometime soon we should put second on there too.
West 2nd was what I had pushed for, but because that would make them go to the other side, they wanted to keep it in one area.
Okay.
Councilman McNamara?
I am requesting that resolution 8621 and 8721, both are authorizing advertising for proposals for some of the waterfront concession events, be pulled just for separate consideration, not pulled for the evening, but just pulled out of the consent agenda. We do have Alex Weck from the Harbor Commission on tonight, so I know that I believe he was going to share some thoughts on that. And then the other thing I had was just a quick question about 9021, that piece of property that with a sidewalk ingress. Is that part of the municipal parking lot that's over by there on Division Street?
Jay, can you?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to give some background on that one, actually, if you don't mind?
I was going to ask also.
Unmute, then maybe they can hear you.
Okay. Yes, this is a renewal of a 10-year license lease agreement between the borough and the property owner. It is my understanding that this involves a side exit door that exits onto a sidewalk that actually is on the adjacent property that's owned by the borough.
Okay, so this is not new. This is just a renewal of an existing agreement that we have.
That's correct. The expiring agreement is a 10-year agreement. Frankly, there was relatively little background material that was available other than the agreement itself.
Okay, because I was just looking at it and it seems to be, I guess it's 8 feet one way and 104 feet the other. So I just wasn't sure if that was part of the municipal lot, and if it was, I didn't realize it was a renewal, so I thought potentially it was taking spots away from the municipal lot, but that's not the case?
That's correct. That is not the case. This is a renewal, and it is the 8 feet at the side of the borough-owned property that extends for essentially the entire depth of the lot.
Okay, thank you.
And who's the property owner?
As listed, it's 19 Division Street, LLC, which I believe is the commercial establishment. I believe it's a auto store. And it is a somewhat confusion because the owner is 19 Division Street, but it actually involves property that's listed as 7 Division Street.
You know what? I'm confused exactly where this is. Is it possible to get a map or at least some designation exactly where this is? I know that street, or I'm sorry, that lot is, it's kind of tucked out of the way, but along the same lines, the parking situation there, I think, has been I guess, curious that, we have trucks going over the sidewalk there. And I want to make sure that where this is and what exactly this is,
We
you're
can
allowed to do on this.
attempt to provide a more clear understanding, either by way of a survey or a map or diagram.
Can we table this?
I was just going to ask that, Mayor.
There's no deadline for this that expired, like if we wait till April?
I don't believe there's any significant impact in a delay.
Okay. There's time, Michelle? Okay. So that's R 9021, to be requesting to be pulled, as well as mentioned earlier, the Kiwanis agreement.
That'd be 89, Mayor.
Thank you. Yes. And then R 88 has a change. Any other council members have any questions on anything on the agenda?
And then again, just 86 and 87, if we can do them separately.
Well, when we open it to the public, Al can comment then too. And then if we still have pending questions, we'll pull it till later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to open to the public, please?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any members that are the public that are on video that want to speak on items on the agenda only, please raise your hand if you're on video, and then we'll go to the phone lines. Mr. Litwack? You're on mute, Mr. Litwack.
You're on mute.
Do you want to hold the space bar down? There you go.
Okay, I just wanted to say I'm here available to answer any questions on the contracts, 3 contracts, the boathouse, the fishing boat, and the hot dog stand that the board might have. I would like to see that approved as soon as possible, as the people that operate those concessions are anxious to know what they're going to be doing this summer. And I hate to see that pushed off till April. But if anybody has any questions when that comes up, or if I can be of any help, I'll be glad to give the position to the Harbor Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other members of the public on video wish to speak or have comment? Anyone on the phone line?
Michael Lane,
Hi, Mr. Lane.
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'd like to get some input on the following items. Councilwoman Davison, Property Management Liaison, regarding the status of the work to remove the abandoned and unanchored RV that's on the borough-owned lot 24, block 22, abutting Lupatana Creek. Councilwoman McDermott, the NPP liaison, a report on the reason that the floodgates failed and what the present operational status is of the NPP floodgates. Mayor Kennedy, a follow-up on the issues that you raised at the 12/5 KBC meeting regarding the missing underground utilities and street improvements that are required for the multiple duplexes built at First and Waverly, and also the status of the filing of the deed for the association. And finally, the borough administrator, status of the initiatives to install a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit zone on Broad between West Front and First. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to speak? Going once, going twice. Could I please have a motion to close to the public?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we'll go on to committee reports. Council President Good.
Thank you, Mayor. With regard to the fire department, we had the calls of service for the month of January, totaled 36 calls, 330 man hours, included a structure fire, a cooking fire, a car fire, 2 motor vehicle accidents with injuries, medical assists, somebody stuck in an elevator, a gas leak, carbon monoxide, overheated motor, a power line, arcing, shorted electrical equipment, and a water problem, amongst others. The total for the year is 64 calls with 656 and a quarter man hours for our volunteers. I just like to, I guess I say this every month now, I'd like to just thank them for their service, the time that they put in, all volunteers, and they do it for the love of the town. And I appreciate what they give to the town. And if anybody is out there is listening and is interested in joining either the fire department or our first aid, I know that they can use the volunteers, and the town would appreciate it, and everybody else would too. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have. The redevelopment committee, there really wasn't anything going on. So with that, I'll turn it over. Thank you.
Do we have any updates on the Peterson? Or do you know when we're going to be meeting with them again? Property? Formerly known as Peterson property, sorry.
Oh, you know what? Jay, have you heard from them at all? I mean, they were kind of just going to give us an idea of what's going on. It's been a couple months. I think we met with them, I want to say in January,
December.
maybe?
December.
I know December. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was December. And they were supposed to get us kind of just an idea of what they were looking to do. And Jay, I haven't heard, Jay, unless you've heard anything. I guess we just sit and wait.
No news.
And I believe 333 First Street, I know they cleared the land, so hopefully that means they're ready to move forward. Have you talked with them lately?
No, actually, luckily I haven't. I guess they decided that going back before the planning board wasn't the best option to try to do whatever they were trying to do, and that they took the tact of, I guess, pulling permits to start building what they bought, what they applied for, and what was approved. So I guess construction moves on.
And I believe 26 townhomes next to the fishery are due to break ground next month. So we're going to finally see a shovel in the ground.
It's only been, what, 15 years since that was
Give or
originally
take.
approved? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Fotopoulos?
Thank you, Mayor. Board of Health and Registrar's gatherings are anticipated for the St. Patrick's Day celebrations. Please remember to practice safe social distance and wear a mask when indoors. The Board of Health and Animal Control, 2 injured birds were rescued and sent to avian rehabilitation, thank goodness. The total collected in the Board of Health office during February was $4,928, nearly half of which was paid for by food handlers. The Environmental Commission met with representatives from Browns Point Marina, who led a presentation about the environmental remediation going on at that site. The representatives there were Mr. Clay Perlman and Mr. John Kerber, who gave the presentation. Among other items, they informed the KEC that the entire site remediation was targeted for completion by the end of 2021. If you're interested in the minutes of that, they're pretty copious, and you can reach out to me and I'll send them out. The Beach Dune project continues to thrive, and KEC member Doug Weeder reported that the tethered evergreen Christmas trees are doing their purpose in gathering sand. Discussion about Clean Ocean Action beach sweeps not being able to happen on Saturday, April 17th due to COVID-19 pandemic concerns and the borough's restriction on public gatherings on public property until April occurred. So the KEC discussed doing something either more informal or doing something later when COVID eases up. The recycling committee did not meet. The finance committee met and will meet again 2 more times about the 2021 budget before the scheduled introduction on April 6th. That's the next meeting. We've collected and familiarized ourselves with the budget requests from all departments. Councilmember Davidson has been involved in discussions about DPW, and we will be meeting again. She, I, and Jay will be meeting on Thursday to discuss DPW construction, and I anticipate the foundations of a plan moving forward. I've heard from both Councilmember Pacheco and, as I said, Councilmember Davidson. I spoke with Councilmember McNamara briefly this weekend, and I hope to chat a bit more this week about recreation. The library, KBBC, and MPP have their own grants and levies, but I invite Councilmember McDermott to reach out to me with any input now, or of course, after we introduce the budget at the next meeting. And as always, Mayor, you're welcoming your direct input as well. These chats and communications aren't outside of the public eye. The results, I pray, will be evident in this year's budget and will also help us to plan a financial policy that as a group and as a borough moving forward, we can be proud of. Having an outlook over the coming years is a good goal for this council and the finance committee. I think 5-year plans are preferable, and the council can revisit on a rolling basis annually or biannually as policy and insinuating circumstances dictate. This budget will be accompanied by its customary justification for the amount the municipality needs to raise by taxation. And my hope is that the budget will again be the result of an informed and prudent communication and policy amongst the council and the public. Mayor, I just have some new business regarding a topic that you know a lot about. And I wanted to discuss with you about local pharmacies and vaccinations under new business, if that's okay. Thank you. And thanks as always, Keyport, for allowing me to serve. Losing Ann was a big loss, by the way. I just don't know what to say about that.
I agree. Thank you. Councilwoman McDermott.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, my condolences to Anne Marie's family and the community at large. And thank you for the proclamation for Irish Heritage Month. The McDermott and Fanning family appreciate it. That's my other side family. So we appreciate that. Thank you. So I'm going to talk about NPP. Regarding the floodgates, I will at the end defer to our borough administrator because that's right now in claims, and a request for replacement and or repair has been submitted. So final status of that is being in review with the borough administrator and our insurance company. Year 2 is in a budget for the MPP program with the state pending approval and review. So the year 2 will start July 1st through June 30th, 2022. And any items that were left in the year 1 planning for 2021 will be finished on June 30th of this year. And some of those items included finishing up some punch list items in the library, such as a door and some additional items that like some masonry work. But that's pending to be completed before the June 30th deadline. The 2 pieces of artwork, the 1 piece of final artwork, that's going to be 6 panels. That's going to be the final installation of the artwork for the year 1. And also the completion of the map that's on Main Street. That's to be expected to be completed, everything has to be completed by June 30th. And anything else any other odds ends is just us replacing the floodgates. That's not part of the plan because we already installed it, but unfortunately there was an issue with them. And we are working on repairing that. One of the things to expect in one of the additional items, we are expecting about $53,000 to be returned to the borough for reimbursement on the items for year one of the MPP program. We should expect that by next month at some point. Year two will have one fortunate news for year two funding. We'll have about 90% of it funded proactively to the borough, where we would have to do monthly FSRs through our MPP coordinator. She will submit those regularly for us to ensure that we're compliant with the grant obligations. And one additional thing, which is still to be determined, again, we're pending New Jersey state approval, but we do expect the funding to increase to $150,000. So that'll be $25,000 matched that the borough has to match, and $125,000 to be provided by the MPP program. So that's additional $10,000 that was not. Because, and if everyone knows, year 2, 3, and 4, and 5 was $120,000. So now it's projected back. Well, it was reduced to be $120,000. So now it's brought up to $150,000 total, which is good news for us. And KBBC, we did have a board member resign, and we are continuing to do some planning for next year. And the budget has been approved by KBBC and has been sent over to borough administrator and the clerk for submission for council review at one of these upcoming meetings. Library construction committee. There is a grant that's in development, or at least in progress, where we're looking to build a gazebo in the library grounds in front. But again, these are preliminary, working with the library director to work on some images and plans and things like that. So that's what that one is. And again, we don't know about funding for the library grant that we proposed that we did not receive for the last year. That's still in the works, and we'll resubmit it when and if we're available to. Municipal Drug Alliance, since Councilwoman Pacheco's not here, the second is here for that. Announcements pertaining to programming are going to be shared through the Keyport School. And again, I ask council members and the mayor, and as these come up, please review them and share them accordingly if you feel that this is appropriate. Again, these programs are, some of them are funded through the state program, and informative to, like, around prom time. We want to make sure we educate our students to not drink, drive, take illegal drugs, things like that. So there's education outreach programs, and it's under some sort of agreements that they do. So all of that stuff will be we're working on the social media page as well. So those are in progress. And just so everyone know, the grant currently is funded through June, and the state there is a continuation of the fund for 2021 through 2022 has been submitted to the state, and the state, it's in budget review right now. Again, so just want to make sure everyone's aware that the current grant does expire the calendar year of 2021 for the schools. And one more thing. Regarding police department, as part of being the police committee. So Councilor Patopoulos, just to let you know, I'm aware of the budget talks because I'm part of the police committee. I'm working with Councilman Pacheco on this to make sure that we're aligned and we're working together. So for the case files, we had from the start 53 cases, end of year date 99. And for this month, we had 46 cases that were done by our Keyport Police Department. We have a total of 149 motor vehicle stops, 1 DWI, we year to date 2 of those. Summons issued on stops, 137. Summons issued at headquarters, 5. Parking summons issued, 104. Borough summons issued, 11. Total summons issued, 257. Motor vehicle accidents, 30. And some fortunate news and very good news. We're currently the committee is working with Chief Torres. We are currently working to making progress on transitioning the police department to wear body cameras as part of the requirement, the Attorney General's requirement by the state of New Jersey. Quotes are been submitted and are expected to be moved forward for budgeting. So that's something you should be receiving soon, Councilman Fotopoulos. 2 new bills are out addressing the previous notification concerns on juvenile rules about not notifying parents. There's two bills out there in legislative waiting to be reviewed and approved. This slightly corrects the language of S 3528, and it gives us permission to notify a parent of written warnings issued by a law enforcement officer. So the 2 pending, one in Senate, there's one numbered 3532 and amendment S 3528. Traffic Safety Unit is operational and has just concluded a study of Maple Place. And we are currently working to get the county to correct some speeding issues and other safety problems in the area of Maple Place and Beer Street. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for filling in the absence of Councilman Pacheco and filling in her report. Councilman Davidson?
Thank you, Mayor. So for the month of February from the construction department, we had a total of 73 UCC inspections. We had 48 code enforcement inspections, 47 property maintenance inspections, 6 landlord registrations, and 7 vacant property registrations. As Councilman Fotopoulos reported, I've been sitting with him and the Finance Committee and Mr. Delaney to discuss the budget requirements for DPW going forward. In regards to the RV, it is currently being removed from the location, so hopefully that will be gone. So thank you for Chief Torres and Mr. Delaney for helping to get that squared away. The question that came up in a previous meeting regarding the zoning permit for 7 Main Street, that was approved and issued on February 2nd, 2020. Let's see. And short and sweet tonight. That is all I have to report.
Councilman McNamara?
Thank you. I'm not as short and sweet. I apologize for a slightly hoarse voice. Recreation. Although we're still not sure where as a community will be with public gatherings. Specifically, the committee obviously is still putting together a budget and planning for possible events for the balance of the year. Still planning to do 2 fire trucks on the east and west sides of the borough with Easter bunnies, and that would be on Saturday, April 3rd. We have received permit applications for the ball field use at Cedar Street. Recreation has recommended leaving the Cedar Street fees the same as they've been in the past, which is $250 for the season. More to discuss about that later. We would anticipate that requests for proposal notices for yoga and Tai Chi will go out in the next probably 2 weeks. And the Keyport School District submitted a permit application for weekday use of both Cedar Street and Main Street ball fields. The Recreation Committee has asked the council to consider the installation of safety netting at Main Street, specifically for fly balls, given the location of the skate park to the field. Estimates that we had received before this year were approximately in the $12,000 range to install those. On the senior side, a group including Mr. Delaney, the borough engineer, and DPW looked around the building and grounds of 2nd Street building to accumulate information to prioritize maintenance there. Mayor Kennedy and others in Keyport have been working with many groups in order to secure vaccines for those in our community that are eligible, in particular our seniors. As you can imagine, there are many logistics involved, from reaching out to people, helping make the appointments, and making sure transportation issues are considered. And thanks to all involved. Now, I'm not sure if the mayor wants to add anything specific to this at this point, or maybe talk about it later. Then recently, the director at the senior center became a point person for our seniors looking for assistance in securing vaccine appointments. So please, if you know of anyone who is having a hard time, they should reach out there. Council President Good and I spent some time recently with the director over there regarding an AARP grant submission and possible projects or items that could be considered for that. On the Harbor Commission front, we did put aside the 2 resolutions for tonight. I would imagine there'll be some further discussion. At the last meeting, there was some brief discussion regarding the Ambaric Boardwalk Power presentation regarding offshore wind and planned transmission. They've not yet submitted a bid, so that's still a ways off. Beach and water debris, especially trees, continue to be problems. We're looking for alternative options given the lack of the inmate programs that were used in the past. Concerns that a significant percentage of the felled trees could be coming from the Aero Marine property, and believe that there were potentially going to be some side conversations between Harbor Commission and the Keyport Yacht Club. Keyport Yacht Club did have representation on the last Harbor Commission call and mentioned how they've been addressing some of the concerns regarding some of the larger debris in the water. Boat ramp cleaning needs have been discussed. There were some preliminary conversations about creating bylaws and ordinance revisions if deemed necessary. And there's also been some conversations and research has begun about acquiring an ADA compliant rollout mat for the area between the kayak lockers down to the high tide watermark. And there was some comments that the lockers could also use some sprucing up. Green team, no particular updates of note. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. In regards to the lockers being spruced up, part of the challenge is that people are leaving their items in there throughout the year, which is why I had suggested that it not be a 12-month rental last year. So it prevents us from being able to get into the lockers to either paint them or do anything kind of work in them. The other item about the roll-out mat, that was part of the final closeout project plan. Mr. Delaney, can you please follow up with Trevor? There was supposed to be an ADA mat installed at the end of the newly installed wooden ramp. I'm not sure why that hasn't been installed yet. Thank you. For mayor's report, I will recap some items since my previous mayor's report in February. Participated in an articulation meeting with the Board of Education and Jay. I learned of the results of the mayor's wellness campaign report that we submitted in January. We were short by 2 points to obtain the ranking, which would have been equivalent to a bronze certification. However, I think that's pretty good considering we really didn't even have it as an earmark. So that was just compiling information from what we already do as a municipality. I believe if we're able to put some boots on the ground with this, we should be able to get a classification next January when we submit a report. With that said, I had scheduled a meeting to begin looking at the likelihood of getting things off the ground and to move forward this year. With Councilmember McNamara and Councilmember Davidson. I would like to express my gratitude to both of them as we were sitting down to have that meeting. More information was unfolding about vaccinations and possible appointments becoming available for seniors in our Oyster Bay apartment high-rise complex. I appreciate you taking the understanding and taking the meeting and switching gears. And for being willing to help and take over all different corners of Borough Hall to make those phone calls happen. Because of those efforts, That led to 16 people coming off the list that have desperately been waiting for their vaccines in Oyster Bay. To follow up more on the vaccines, Walgreens Pharmacy in Hazlet was instrumental in providing 313 vaccinations for senior citizens in the Bethany Manor high-rise. They came to the location and issued the vaccinations on site. I appreciate the management of both high-rise continue to work through all of this. They were the first targeted audience in all of Monmouth County at the start of this pandemic 53 weeks ago. The amount of advocating that I have been doing since the last week of December, begging, pleading, jumping up and down, pretty strong, encouraging or discouraging words, I'm not sure which, on every level of government, the dissatisfaction of plans that were not put in place to be able to assist residents that were not able to get to mega sites, as well as the fact that many volunteers worked, including myself, for several weeks to get St. Joe's up and running as a community mega site. That site was then moved to Bell Works instead, where I still am disappointed in because public transportation does not service that area. Nor does the VNA holds a location here because of the diversity of the population that they represent. So my voice has finally been loud and clear on that. So we've revisited with some meetings, and the VNA has now agreed as of this week, it was supposed to take place today, hopefully it did. They were going to do a mobile site over to Fisher's boarding home and vaccinate all the residents there as well as the staff. Monmouth County has also now provided the opportunity to have scat busing to bring people to Brookdale. And if they're someone that might have limited mobility, they will be allowed to remain on the scat bus, and the nurse will come out to the bus and issue that vaccination on the bus. So that prevents people from having to stand in long lines or get on and off of the transportation modes. I continue to work, and we could discuss it further, Councilman Fotopoulos, later, but just as reference, I've been working with Senator Gopal since January and advocating for Talika, the pharmacist owner of Savon Drugs. She's been a registered vaccination location. And unfortunately, no matter how hard we try and advocate, they have not started disseminating vaccines to any of our local pharmacies. I think that's kind of discouraging since that's who knows our constituents the best. Talika has worked several years to administer flu shots to our senior citizens, as well as deliver their pharmaceuticals to them directly. Unfortunately, we had worked with leaders from TCNJ nursing program who were going to assist her with disseminating the vaccinations, as well as the CERT team on standby to set up tents to be able to do vaccination locations. But since she hasn't been able to receive them from the state, I'm appreciative of other efforts finally coming our way for the population that's not able to get to the mega centers. So back to the wellness campaign topic. Hopefully we can reschedule that meeting again soon, Councilmember McNamara and Davidson. I was also on an all-day virtual budget training on March 6th that was provided by the New Jersey League of Municipalities. They hold that every year. I know several council members were on that as well, and thank you for that. We performed one wedding. I met virtually with Councilwoman McNamara and Michelle Knox regarding logistics of a creative team. I attended the virtual meeting for KBBC. There are current vacancies on the board membership, which I'm waiting to fill once the board decides if they're going to be restructuring their bylaws regarding the makeup of the membership. Participated in the mayor's calls with the governor's office. Participated in the library board of trustees meeting. Held a Complete Streets community meeting. Participated in a Woman in Government virtual movie night provided for elected officials by NJLM. Participated in the February virtual Green Team meeting. Participated in the February virtual Planning Board meeting. And as more vaccines are now just recently becoming available, I'm hopefully going to be able to get back to work on things pre-pandemic regarding certain committees, ad hoc committees, and follow-up meetings. I will also like to give a shout out to Bayshore Community Hospital, which is now Hackensack Meridian Healthcare, who also heard my pleas, my begs, and my phone calls to help provide assistance to Oyster Bay High Rise. They secured 48 appointments for us, for residents there. That left us with having to make all the appointments, but we worked through all that and the logistics. And as of Thursday and Friday, we are hoping that will mean that a majority of that high rise is finally completely vaccinated. Today we met with the government representative from JCP&L and expressed ways that we wish and hope for improvements to be made. Prior to today's meeting, we had 4 different telephone poles that are considered double wood that were either taken out in a storm or by a vehicle. And the secondary pole was relocated there, and the damaged pole remains there. They switched one out last week on the highway, which relieves 3 within our municipality. The representative took the poll numbers, saw the areas of frustration from our end, from the municipality, and is going to be working on communication with that with Verizon. We talked with them about several other things that Mr. Delaney needed from them that they're going to be sending over, as well as preliminary discussions about the waterfront project that the leadership under Mayor Bergen initiated for the waterfront 15 years ago, which included the electric being run underground. The conduit's all there, but that second phase never was completed. So we began dialogue about that as well today. In hopes of, if those conversations are able to move forward, perhaps moving those wires underground, if that's the right way to go, which is where, as I said, these are just preliminary conversations, could possibly eliminate the amount of power outages that area of the business district keeps facing. I'd like to thank the cultural leaders who continue to work with, working on different acknowledgements of the Keyport community culture so that we can highlight all different areas of our cultures throughout the borough all year. In regards to the parking committee, I know Mr. Kelsey is anxious to get going. To date, I have not received any applications on the volunteer site. I did promote it on the mayor's page. If other council members can try and help promote that, I'd appreciate that, and just acknowledge that we're looking for volunteers for the parking committee. So with all that said, I would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge that the world as we knew it changed 1 year ago today. 1 year ago, the first major executive order was issued regarding COVID-19, executive order number 104. Since that time, all of our lives have changed in unimaginable ways. Within that year, we have had to read and interpret 126 executive orders, 25 executive directives by the Department of Health, and 25 administrative orders, and countless pieces of proposed and adopted legislation. We all thought we would have a better grasp on vaccinations by now, but that is not the case. And while I understand everyone has tired from the pandemic, I need to urge the importance of practicing safety protocols. In the last 10 weeks, we have had 250 new confirmed residents with COVID-19. 60 of those cases are current today. To put that in perspective, it was almost Christmas time before we had 250 cases cumulatively in the first entire 9 months of the pandemic. We are not out of the woods yet. Please do not think this is over. For everyone that has been impacted by this, please continue to wear your mask and practice social distance. If not for yourself, then for them. For our emergency services, our frontline workers, and us. We have fought hard to keep everyone safe over the last 52 weeks, and we can't continue to risk our friends and loved ones by losing a grasp now. Next, we move on to the consent agenda. Councilmember McNamara, R86 and R87. Your questions answered, or do you have further questions and wish them to be posed?
Mayor, I believe we wanted to do them as a separate consideration because the Harbor Commission would like to give their thoughts on going out for the bid on the two that are included in tonight's agenda.
Okay, so we would need to open that back up to the public. We had done that earlier. I didn't realize Mr. Lacko wanted to comment more on that.
I also know, I see Councilwoman Pacheco has joined us. I don't know if she wants to give some information. We had gotten communication from the Harbor Commission barely an hour, I guess, before the meeting started. So we were just trying to see if we could address that.
Councilmember Pacheco, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is I don't know what the discussion was in the first public section.
There wasn't any.
Okay, then there we go.
And Mr. Litwack just said that he was here if anyone had any questions, but no one asked any questions.
All right. Then I motion to pull for separate consideration. I forgot the numbers, R86 and R87. Those are the right numbers, right? Yeah.
I guess what I'm asking though is if you're going to want separate consideration, are you going to want another public session open for these? I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, I think that Mr. Litwack would like to speak on behalf of the Harbor Commission. I don't, like I said, I don't really know what was said before. So yeah, if there's more to be said, then yes, we would like the public to comment.
I guess I'm confused. We opened it earlier to the public and asked them. So
And I apologize, I was stuck at work.
So Mayor, nothing specific was obviously mentioned earlier. It seems that the Harbor Commission has some strong feelings on how these agreements are handled specifically for this year. And I guess I was not involved last year, so I don't know exactly what the changes were last year. But the two that were on the agenda for tonight were for the food concession and the boathouse. And it was so that the request could be put out for a bid for those. And the Harbor Commission is of the opinion that they should not be put out for the bid, that they should just be extended to each of those concessionaires for another year, given the events of the past year and that it was a difficult year for them to operate. They also suggested that the hot dog vendor, in addition to being extended for another year, be given a reduction in her fee, and that the canoe be offered a 2-year lease. I know I had gone back to them at one point that the Green Acres language does make that a difficult thing to offer a 2-year lease on that property. And they also had some suggestions about the payment there. But again, their main concern was that they did not feel that we should go out for the bid, that we should just be extending these contracts to the vendors. So, I don't know the proper procedure in terms of how we address that going to the next step.
I mean, yeah, I just
Mr.
echo.
Delaney, can you comment on why we're changing the process?
Thank you, Mayor. These are concessions, and as Council Member McNamara has indicated, extending these beyond a one-year term has the added complication of requiring Green Acres approval. It has been my understanding, again, I was not here last year either during this process for the proposals being received. But as I said, Green Acres does require as part of their regulations that the concessions and agreements such as these for less than 1 year can be done as a matter of routine.
It's my, just to echo what Councilman McNamara said, it is the opinion of the Harbor Commission, and certainly I, am in agreement with them for this year that we should just renew these 2 leases, considering the hardships and the operation situations they had last year. Also, I think that there is also a consideration that the Harbor Commission wants to make about the payment for and I literally just walked in the door, so I apologize. I'm just pulling it up on my phone. The payment for the hot dog as well, a reduction in that. Am I correct, Councilman McNamara?
Yeah, I thought I mentioned.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. I'm like frazzled. I literally just walked through the door.
Can anyone explain to me what hardships they faced last year? Like, outdoor recreation was the #1 probably in history last year.
And I think that Mr. Litwack from the Harbor Commission, I would like to open it to the public so Mr. Litwack can speak.
Okay, we did open it to the public before, and he had a chance to speak and did not say anything, is my point.
I motion to open it to the public to discuss R 86 and R 87.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll go out of order for you.
Aye.
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 Mr. Letbeck, do you have anything further to say? You're on mute, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm just catching up to the process here a little bit. That's my fault. A couple things. One is, as far as going out to bid and stuff, we view all of those concessions as not a financial proposition, but more a value added to the community. For instance, the boathouse, we could probably get more money from it if we had allowed jet skis to go out there. But we felt that the community would benefit much more from non-motorized boats coming out of there. We are trying to keep the concession stands we have because they've worked out well. They're good to the community. They run a nice, clean operation. As far as the hot dog stand goes, our understanding, and a number of members of the Harbor Commission saw that at the beginning of the season, things went very slow for the hot dog vendor. She struggled to stay afloat. Towards the end of the season, things picked up. But what we're trying to do is recognize that last year was a pretty tough year on her, and to try to make some concession for that. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. But these have all been good to the community. They've run nice, clean operations. There's been no mess. We'd like to keep them, and we'd like to let them invest more in the community by knowing they're going to be around for a while.
Mr. Litwack, I know last year that it wasn't open. It was supposed to be a 7-day operation. I don't know that it was operating even 3 days a week last year for the hot dog concession. Do you know if that's the pleasure of the Harbor Commission, that it should be operating 7 days a week? And has that been discussed with the vendor?
I haven't discussed that with the vendor, but I would encourage it if she can sell enough hot dogs to make it worth a while, that it be open 7 days a week. There are people that come down and use the boat ramp all week. So it'd be a nice addition.
Any other members of the public have comments? Sorry. Have a motion to close to the public?
Motion?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mayor, I would just
I have
point
some
out that these
questions
are
whenever we can.
public concessions, and I would have to defer to the attorney as far as the ability to extend the concession term for another year. These were, in the past have been publicly noticed and proposals received. Again, we are not talking tremendous amounts of dollars, as the Harbor Commission representatives have indicated. These are provided more as a service to the community and to the public that use the waterfront, as opposed to generating dollars. It is my recollection that the what is referred to as the boathouse concession, it pays about $600 a year. I believe the hot dog vendor is in the neighborhood of between $2,000 and $2,500 a year. So it is not, either way, the revenue is not a tremendous amount.
And what is the turnaround time if you want to do the process that's on the agenda?
It's generally a 2-week process to post and receive proposals.
Okay, so we currently don't have any public property use allowance until at least May 1st anyway. So could we get the bids back if we were to go out to bid by the April meeting? Like how long does it take to post them? And I don't know what kind of workload that is for you, Michelle.
That's certainly doable. I believe my recollection also is that these concessions have a May 1 start date.
Have a what?
May 1 start date.
If that's what we'll have to decide that later on in the agenda anyway. So it's not like we're stopping anyone if we do the bid process. And all of the people that currently have provided services are eligible to put in a bid.
Yes. And just so that we're clear on the terminology, these are not sealed bids. These are proposals that are submitted, a slightly different process, but the end result is the same. There's a solicitation for proposals.
Ms. London?
Yes,
Commentary?
yes, if the value is under a certain amount, then you don't have to go out for proposals or bids. So I'm hearing Jay mentioned 2,000 for one and maybe 600 in revenues for the other.
That's correct.
Yeah, roundabout, right?
So if that's the value involved, then I would say it's not subject to any type of like local public contracts law. But I think Jay had also mentioned some sort of approval from Green Acres. I don't know if there's, I'm not totally familiar with that, but that is what I would like to check. But if that's the only other requirement under the local public contracts law based on the value involved, it would not be subject to a competitive process. You could just negotiate and deal with a vendor directly.
I
Ms.
think
London?
the commentary about the Green Acres was that if we were to extend it past 1 year, then it has to be approved by Green Acres.
Ms. London?
Yes.
Would you advise, since you needed to do a little research about the Green Acres, I mean, would it be a good idea to just pull these two till the next meeting so we can find out about Green Acres, confirm that we don't need to put these out to bid? Would you recommend that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just so it's being a member who is on Harbor Commission, all this, so that we are still requiring any vendor to have a $2 million policy. All of those protocols are still being followed, correct? I just want to.
That is not what this discussion is. This is just about their contracts or their license as we're referring to them now.
If it's part of the bid, it would be part of the conversation.
Right, it would be part of the conversation. They need to meet one.
They're aware of that requirement.
So I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
the $2 million, does that apply only to the fishing boat, or does that also apply to the kayak concession and the hot dog stand?
My recollection is that it's actually everybody.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
we researched that last year when we had the same question.
that was mine. Thank you for that. The other
Yeah.
thing is that the other question I had too was the last year it was just these two that applied. Now, given under the circumstances, it was different.
No,
Previous.
I just want to correct you on that. We did have one year that we had 3 bids. In 2019, we had 3 bids.
Let me finish what I was asking. So has it been has it been that way every year, or were there other bids in previous years? Councilwoman McDermott.
Yes, there were. Yes, it is a hot property. It is very visible, and people know that they can make revenue from it.
What was the other concession?
There were, so for the
Okay, find it.
boating, the kayak, canoe, we had a few. Again, some of them were not motorized, some of them were not motorized.
We had a jet ski and we had the kayak, right?
Yeah, that's my recollection, is that it was the jet ski kayak.
There were 2 other ones that, you know, were not local.
Okay, so if that's the case, I understand why we would go to bid, but I also understand the informed opinion of the Harbor Commission as well, to continue. Now, if it was the contract expired, the license agreement is expired, so I don't know if under Green Acres law, having a new agreeing to license them again is falls under the restriction or not. But I'm okay with tabling it, but as always, I'm also okay with deferring to the informed opinion of the Harbor Commission as well. But that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Good, do you have any commentary on any of those?
Nope.
So is the pleasure, Councilman McNamara, to pull 86 and 87 completely or table them to the next meeting?
I would think we table them to the next meeting, Mayor.
Okay. I have a question for the MPP council members. 8521. You're putting a mural on Apollo building. Is that the only location in the municipality that was available, or how did that location get selected? Since I know we usually have often complaints come in about the upkeep or lack of upkeep of that location.
So there were, to give everyone background, there were several property owners that were contacted to place as part of the year 1. It was highly, a lot of significant amount of money was put into mural creations, artwork. And this is closing out that final stage of the year 1. Many businesses did declines from having anything put on the property. And for candidacy, that was like the last location that we could select off the list. Now, regarding that agreement, we've had conversations with the property owner on making sure that their building is up to standards. These will be panels similar to, so we can take them off, or we can wait till there's more stability or better conditions in a building. It's not being put on the building. They're panels being taken, so they are mobile to be placed in a location. If we deem that as a governing body, we don't want it there anymore. The second part of this is that it was very difficult to get property owners to give us space in the MPP project for this.
I mean, was it a requirement? Like if we didn't do this, we couldn't use the money for anything else? We had to be a mural?
Yes, it was a requirement within that piece, yes. Unfortunately, yes. I don't know, Councilman Pacheco, Councilwoman Pacheco, you were on the committee at that time.
Yes, it's my, yeah, because that's what the money was delineated for, was for murals. So I don't think at this point we can shift to something else.
But we
My
can shift the
recollection of that
location
process.
if, again.
And yeah, we can move the location. It's just it has to be a mural, right? Am I
Yes,
correct in that?
the panel, and it has to fit the artwork, the wall has to fit 6 panels. Just to let everyone know, this will be one of our largest panels in the NPP project. So, you know, I hope I answered your question, Mayor Kennedy. And Councilwoman Davidson.
Hopefully, if we're spending the money to beautify their building, they can finally take the efforts to take the tarps down off of their fence that they've been asked for numerous times, and you know,
we will
gets removed.
communicate that over as part of the agreement.
Okay. Any other council members have any comment?
Just that I love the idea of putting it up. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Davidson. Oh, I thought you were gonna, I don't have my glasses on. I can't see. I thought you would. I think, you know, I don't disagree with, you know, the aspect of maintenance over on that property, but driving out of town, seeing a mural by one of the best artists in town, like that is, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. We look at it from a perspective of not in so much as where it's, whose building it's going on, but where it's going. And I think it'll look really nice over there.
For the record, I don't have any problem with who it is that owns the building. It's just the building. Just for the record, I have no issue with the owner.
No, I know that.
And again, I want to reiterate, if there's a point in any of these murals that we have replaced, the murals have been placed on any of these properties, we have as a governing body the ability to pull them off and put them somewhere else, as long as the property owner agrees to allowing us to place in a property. That's what we do an advantage to doing panels versus placing painting on a wall.
That was the idea behind the panels. But gosh, it feels like it was longer than a year ago. But that was my recollection of why we did the panels, was that they'd be able to be moved if needed.
Right. If the property turned over and the owner didn't want it, we can move it out. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if there's no other comment by council members, I would need a resolution for approval of consent agenda with the exception of R8921, R9021, R8621, R8721, and with the revisions to R8821.
I make a motion what the mayor just said.
Second.
Is that okay, Leslie?
Do you need me to say it?
We have it for the record. Your comment, Mayor, is on the record.
Okay.
Did you get a second, Michelle?
Yes.
Can I please have a roll call?
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco,
Yes.
Councilmember Fotopoulos,
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson,
Yes.
and Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Introduction of ordinances. Number 1, amending chapter 5 of the Borough Code, section 5-12, games and chants. Do you want to read the ordinance by title, please, Michelle?
This is an ordinance of the Borough of Keyport, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, amending Chapter 5 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Keyport entitled General Licensing and Business Regulations at Section 5-12, Games of Chance.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to introduce?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Good,
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco,
Yes.
Councilmember Fotopoulos,
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson,
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a motion authorizing the clerk to publish the ordinance as introduced in the Asbury Park Press for a public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right, I knew that. Communications by consent. We have items 1 through 7. Oh, I lied, 1 through 9. And we have 10, 11 to receive and 5. Does any council members have any dialogue on any of those items?
I have a question about the traditional Our Lady of Fatima parish procession. Obviously, they'll be practicing I hate this, but obviously they'll be practicing social distancing and everything. Because it's a religious event, doesn't fall under our moratorium, does it?
I don't believe it can be. I'll
Right.
defer to Ms. London.
I don't believe so at this point.
Right,
It's not covered.
right. Okay.
Great question. Thank you. Any other comments on items 1 through 11? Can I please have a motion to approve 1 through 9 and receive and file 10, 11?
Motion.
Second.
Can I please have roll call? Carmen's voting.
Yes, with the microphone.
Councilmember Good,
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco,
Yes.
Councilmember Fotopoulos,
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson,
Yes.
and Councilmember McNamara.
Yes. Can I ask a quick question? The receive and file piece for the Historical Commission, is that being shared with the Historical Society, do we know? And the Fire Museum? Or is it just getting like filed away?
Answer. It was sent to the Historical Society to a member or two, and it can be shared with the Fire Museum as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Minutes for approval, January 1st, 2020. Councilmember McNamara and Davidson, you would need to abstain from this, obviously, since I don't think you'd be able to recall that meeting. But still can I have a motion for approval?
Motion.
Second.
Can I get a backstory on this?
There's a bit of an oversight with all the changeover last year that they never got
Right.
approved. So
Okay.
they weren't posted on the website.
That's what I figured, but I was also like, didn't we do this? Okay, thank you.
And when Michelle was trying to be the miracle worker without an assistant or anything else. And
That
shifting
makes sense.
BAs and all the other things. So I'll just need a roll call, please.
Councilmember Good,
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco, yes, thank you. Councilmember Fotopoulos,
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson, Councilmember Davidson,
Abstain?
and Councilmember McNamara.
Abstain.
Thank you. Next, we have reports of department. Municipal clerk's report for February 2021. Tax water sewer collectors report for February 2021. Tax collectors annual report for 2020 collections. Board of Health treasurer report for February 2021. Building department's monthly report for February 2021. Municipal court monthly report for February 2021. Can I please have a motion to accept those reports?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any no or abstain? Thank you. Next, we have a topic, but I think it also blends into an unfinished topic. Second quarter use of borough property guidelines during the public health emergency. I also want to point out that as much as I think you heard in my mayor's report, that we are in a pretty serious situation in Keyport with COVID situations. I don't want this to be taken lightly. However, guidelines from the governor's office are different for school districts than they are for municipalities. Therefore, there has been guidance to allow for high school sports to resume. Am I correct, Jay?
Yes, that's correct.
So we discovered a slight situation this week, and that the girls softball team is scheduled and ready to go, except they use our property. So well, I'm not sure what we're going to do about moving after May 1st guidelines, because that's what we have a hold on for use of borough property. I would like to maybe suggest that we somehow not allow them to have more than 50 people on the field, which would be what we're at right now for municipal guidelines. Maybe no spectators and let them play their game. But otherwise, if they can't resume their softball team next week, they have to cancel the season.
I have a question.
I think, hold on 1 second, Jay wanted to comment on it. He did a little more research to look that up.
Yeah, just a slight clarification. While
Okay, we lost you.
Sorry, I muted you, but thinking that you were talking in there. Sorry, I'll unmute you.
Okay, I'll start again. Just a slight clarification. While there are limitations on outdoor gatherings, under the New Jersey rules for organized sports, high school sports, or actually I guess technically it's non-collegiate sporting activities, there is an exclusion or an exception to that limitation on the number that involves the number of participants, referees, officials, and then there's also no allowance of parents attending those events. So those are guidelines that are outlined through the NJSIAA, and any approval would be subject to approval for the use of a high school sports team would be subject to those requirements.
But we could put stricter ones on if we wanted to, right? So to eliminate gatherings, since we're not allowed egg hunts and we're not allowing anything else on municipal property, we could say play game, play ball, but don't let people gather or social distance on the bleachers somehow. If the pleasure of the council is even to approve this. Is that correct?
If I could,
Pacheco?
yep, sorry.
Councilmember Pacheco.
I actually had, I just was looking up the guidelines, but I had another question. So, yeah, it looks like each player can have 2 guests over the age of 21, and then the visiting team, only seniors can have 2 guests over the age of 21. But that wasn't my question. My question was, are there other teams, and I'm actually on their website right now, trying to find like a list of sports. Are there other teams that use our property? I'm thinking like tennis, or is it just the softball team?
Just the softball team. That's what they would put normally for a field use permit request.
Okay.
It used to go through a member of recreation. Part of the process of cleaning up all of this stuff, because no process has been followed for like a decade across the borough on many items. So we've never even approved as a council to waive all the fees for them. They were just waived. So part of that cleaning up process is when we also realized, what do you mean there's an application in? We're not allowing borough use of property in through at least May 1st. But we do have this council meeting here tonight. And I think because of the differences in the governing guidelines, we're still at a 50-person outdoor limit. But I do think maybe softball could resume, but
I'm not. The only reason I brought up other sports is because frankly, I'm not really against this as long as we have the right guidelines. I just wanted to make sure that when the next team needed this, we kind of covered it all. That's all.
So that's the problem, is that there are other leagues looking for it to use it as of now. But
Oh, I'm just talking about our
That's-
schools.
our school teams, well, right, so.
Yeah.
No other teams use our fields. They have all their own fields or shared services with other districts. I think they're well, now they have a track, so, but I think they used to go run track and play soccer somewhere else.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Councilman Fotopoulos?
Thank you, Mayor. Since all the other sports, based on what we just found out through Councilwoman Pacheco's comments, are going to likely fall under the restrictions without knowing that the governor has outlined. I'd recommend not to, just under the circumstances, my thinking is not to isolate the softball team due to the unfortunate circumstances of them having to use our field, and make them the exception with the two 21 or over limit. As far as the other outside softball or baseball or other organized sports is concerned, I'd love to hear from our recreation liaisons to see when those are coming in, and maybe we can address that at a later date if they're not due to start until sometime on or after May 1st. But I'd support following the guidance of the governor when it comes to organized sports under the circumstances, with parents and with the two parents. That's it.
Okay, so I think just for housekeeping, because they're two totally different drastic conversations that I am aware that I brought up and merged together, but now I'm going to try not to merge them. So would Ms. London, it be okay if we take a roll call as to whether council members are okay with the
Not making you mess.
school utilizing the softball field for their softball team on Cedar Street and the waiver of fees for use of property, and do that as one, and then continue the conversations about other use of property?
Yes, if you do that first as a motion, someone make a motion.
Motion for just the softball team.
But I'd like to just
And-
make a friendly amendment. It's Pine Street, I believe. Is
The
it?
parking lot is Pine Street.
Yeah, the
I think
field,
they call it the Cedar Street field.
that's fine. Okay.
For the Cedar Street.
Well, then I make a motion to, oh shoot, allow, should have thought this through before I unmuted. A motion to allow the Keyport High School softball team to use the Cedar Street field within the guidelines dictated by the NJ, whatever the initials are, hold on. The NJSIAA, which is the New Jersey the sports.
With or without a waiver of fees.
Oh, with waiver of fees.
Second.
Roll call, please. Sorry, Michelle, I know that's a lot, so just on the fly, sorry.
Where did Michelle go? I don't even see her anymore.
There she is.
She's there.
Councilmember Good,
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco,
Yeah.
Councilmember Fotopoulos,
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott,
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson,
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just, thank you everyone for that, for that dialogue. Jay, do you know if they were also requesting, they used to use the Main Street for practice for, I think maybe the middle school, but now that that field has been shortened, do you know if they're requesting that as well? Or Councilmember McNamara, do you know?
Yes, their application was requesting use of both fields from 2 p.m. to, I believe it was 6:30 p.m. every weekday. There was no specific schedule yet provided. They didn't have their home game lineup yet. So it seemed like it was just a general blanket application for that time frame every day.
Okay. So I don't know that they play games on the Main Street field. I think they just practice. I don't
Correct.
think it's a steep,
No, it's small.
I'm drawing a blank on the right word, but the footage on that field is not the right for qualifiable game. So can we please have a motion for practice use by the high school with the same guidelines that you read, Councilmember Pacheco, with or without a waiver of fees?
Motion for the softball team to use the Main Street Park Field within the guidelines of the governor and the NJ SIAA with the waiver of fees. I think I got it. For practice.
Then the seconded. I don't know if you got that. Councilman Papa.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Good.
Yes.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Yes. I can't hear you.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson
Yes.
and Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Thank
Okay. Next, we'll visit the topic of other borough use of property requests post May 1st. Back in January, we had put a hold on all borough use of property. I was at the January 19th meeting. I think we were all hopeful that vaccines were going to be underway by February, March, and a few stragglers in April. As we all know, that's not the case. And as I said, I've already read the numbers for what Keyport situations are right now. We'll go around one by one like we have in the past, calling each council member and see if you want to do this for another 3 months, another month, let it open back up May 1st and just go by whatever the state guidelines are. But I know there's some people and organizations and clubs and committees that are just looking for guidance from us so they know what to do. And if they know that they should start planning things or not planning things. So with that, I will take commentary and we'll see where we go from there. Council President Good.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm of the opinion that we have to take it. I think we're at a point where, though the numbers are high, also it kind of depends upon what the activity is. Parades obviously seem to be just a grouping, but I know that from the Recreation Committee that there are softball teams that are looking to play. If we're just kind of weighing what we're going to allow and what we're not going to allow, I think that following the state guidelines, obviously, that we should take these on a case-by-case basis, so that instead of like a blanket, hey, we're not going to do that, with the understanding that if you're running a softball team, that's not exactly, you're not all grouped up together versus like a parade or something. So I believe that we just kind of, unfortunately, take it as a case-by-case basis. It doesn't give everybody a lot of direction, but we're at a certain point where it might go one way or the other, and kind of depends upon what the situation is.
So that would be after May 1st, because we already have it through May 1st. Because then we would have to reverse everything with the egg hunt and everything else.
You know what? I'm going to just defer on that.
Okay,
I'm
we
just
can come
gonna
back and look at
defer on
it.
that.
Councilwoman Pacheco.
I like that. I think I agree with Councilman Good about taking it event by event, because there's obviously certain things that pose less risks than others. Memorial Day was in my mind for some reason, to give it another month to see who can get vaccinated. I know that the goal is to get a lot, more people up and running by May 1st. So by May 31st, more people should be fully vaccinated. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I'm curious to see what everybody else has to say.
Councilman Topoulos.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with the notion of taking it on a case-by-case basis. If we were to agree to extend it, I wouldn't mind doing it at this point, every council meeting in the lead up. And if we could just make it a quick vote rather than, I think that would make it worth it. But in other words, we extend it out to the middle of May if we're going to extend it. I don't necessarily think it's, I don't know if that's what council wants to do. We extend it to the middle of May, and then at the next meeting, we have a look at it. And if we need to, we extend it to the end of May and so on. That's sort of what, the state did in the beginning was, extend and rescind. But that's just my thinking. I'm hoping that the numbers are going to go down, notwithstanding, the increases that we've seen. And that's it. Thanks.
Before we go on, Councilwoman Checker, I'm asking you because I think you might be the only council member that has a child in the school system. Do you know when spring break is?
So I don't know if it's the same Keyport, but my kid's actually at St. Mary's, and it's the 4th. It's after Easter. So what is that? The 5th is that Monday? It's that week. And I think it's the same in Keyport, but I honestly don't know.
But we currently have May 1st, so that would get us past spring break anyway. So, okay.
Yeah,
I was just thinking out loud.
I think it's all either before or after that week would be my guess.
Okay. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but my guess is this spike in all these numbers was the gatherings over Christmas and New Year's.
Probably.
So I'm just thinking about when spring break is and make sure we build in its heyday window after that.
I think
we already have that built in. I think we talked about that in January, right?
Yeah, I think it's sandwiches Easter. It's either the week before or the week after.
Okay. Sorry. Councilman McDermott?
I would like for us to follow the state guidelines. I do know that any gatherings will impact resource levels regarding whether it's DBW, putting more trash cans, police department resources for some of these things. So we do need to take into consideration timelines of any request that comes to us. If we are going to deal with it on a case-by-case basis, we definitely do need more, at least a month notice. Because again, as everyone knows, if there's a person who's positive, any of these departments, there's isolation, there's a lot of impacts to resources there that we need to consider. The extension longer, again, as we know, holidays, spring break will always add to potential impacts to these numbers. And I do know that outside activities will help our community also have some mental stability and, allow them to feel a little bit, have some positive energy or that kind of thing. So I don't want to deter from that. So, if we're looking at an extension through the 31st, that's fine with me. But I do think that I know this is going to impact the recreation with the summer camp considerations for that, because I think that has to kind of be proactively. We're going to hire directors and counselors and all those things like that's something you do around this time. So I do think we need to consider what summer programming we're going to have, whether it's yoga at the Bay, Tai Chi or other programs that other communities, organizations may consider, the Keyport Garden Club that does the garden walk. All these things have to be put into consideration as we're evaluating this, not just now, but as we consider long-term for the rest of 2021. That's it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Davidson?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with the case by case. I also think that I'm worried about people planning far enough ahead, like Delia said, or Councilwoman McDermott said about personnel and just basic planning ahead. So planning events for June, we can't really plan too far ahead in June if we don't know what we're doing in May. So I think it's going to get confusing. This is a tough one. I don't know what the right thing to do is personally, but I think definitely case by case and probably reevaluating mid-month, like Councilman Fotopoulos said, would be a good idea. And then hope that all the organizations that are trying to plan for June, July, and further out come to us with what they're looking for, whatever they need, with explicit instructions and a backup plan in case they can't fulfill what they want to do in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman McNamara?
Such a loaded question. To answer a couple things, at least Keyport Garden Walk did announce that they would be virtual. I also do agree that a lot of the things we're looking at should be case by case. One of the things that was mentioned is that we have received permits of other organizations looking to use Cedar Street. So I would imagine that if they adhered to the guidelines, that we could see those games start after May 1st. But again, I do like the idea of kind of checking in every 2 weeks to see if that's still where we're looking at. Obviously, for those organizations, it does mean a shortened season. A lot of them do start this time of year, or they start in April. So it would be a delayed start, and we're kind of leaving them in a situation, but I would imagine that's happening elsewhere. There was a recommendation from the Recreation Committee that as I mentioned, that the fees for Cedar Street stay on par with what they were last year. There's a whole side conversation about an ordinance that's in place that has not been followed regarding light fees and other things. And I don't know if this is really the time or place to necessarily go into all of that, especially if we're talking about giving them a season of 1 to 2 months. But I would assume the responsibility is going to be on those organizations to follow. I don't want, though, to see our town have to be the enforcer at a ball field to make sure that's in place. Tai Chi and yoga, I'll throw my 2 cents in there. I'd like to see those requests for proposals go out sooner rather than later. That is a program that we did get up and running in the middle of July last year. So it was on the ground and happening from July through September. So to me, that would be a good thing to revisit. And I think that's pretty much it. I do like the idea, though, of delaying stuff and checking in every 2 weeks or so. And I think I'm having an internet problem here, but.
Shut your video off. It might work, stream better, just letting you know. Yeah.
Check out.
So I was curious what they were doing in other towns. So I actually just reached out to one of our counterparts in Atlantic Highlands, and I'd hate to add extra work on anybody because God knows we have enough to do. So I was like, do you guys have a moratorium? How are you guys handling this? And she said that basically if somebody wants to have like an event, they bring it to council, they present their plan, and then it gets approved. So it's really truly is a case-by-case basis. They're doing that right now. And it's typically churches, obviously, and then other town entities. So like the Recreation Board, the Harbor Commission, things like that. So they really are doing it truly case by case, and they're doing that right now. So if that's something we might want to think about for May 1st, maybe I want to push my date back from May 31st to May 1st.
So I think the other point is that I think we have to let parents know about what we're going to plan on doing for summer camp, because I think if they need to make other plans, it's only fair to let them know at least by our next meeting. And that's usually sometimes the last week of June through July.
We'll say this, and I'm sure Councilman Davis has also been looking at summer camps. I have actually been looking into summer camps, and the county is running their summer camps. They seem to be doing it with less people because a lot of the camps are waitlisted already. But yeah, they are running their full variety of summer camps, though, albeit they seem a little smaller. So that might be something we want to think about too.
Councilman Trappist, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, thanks. So Can we, with regards to the summer camp, can we talk about that next meeting? Give it some thought and talk about it next meeting, and simply tonight vote on letter A, the case by taking things on a case-by-case basis, and B, extending the moratorium to the middle of May. And then we'll discuss again next meeting. Is that the process we can follow tonight?
I don't see why we can't follow that. So you're saying extend from May 1st to May 15th now, or you want to wait till the next meeting to extend to May 15th?
Where are we at? We can wait until the next meeting to extend to May 15th. Yeah, that's actually.
Tonight, new video has been.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll have more vaccines by then and get a better grip on this.
Yeah, perfect. So,
Right, so we're leaving everything as is now, and we'll revisit. If anyone has applications, they can turn them in, and we'll review them in the next upcoming meetings, but we'll leave the May 1st moratorium.
yes,
Right, correct? Hold on one second.
so no action.
Councilwoman Davidson?
Sorry, do we need to, or should we put something out to the public, letting them know that, you know, as of May 15th, we're going to be going case by case. So if they have anything that they would like to present to us, that they can compile it and get it to us in a timely manner. So we're not leaving people.
So it would be May 1st
Yeah.
if we leave it as is. And anything they were going to give in, they would have to use a borough use of property anyway.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other council members have any comments on that? Okay, so since we're not taking any additional action, we're leaving things as is and a moratorium until May 1st. Thank you for the dialogue. I do want to point out that there's been discussion about wanting to have another dialogue for the public. I had done that for the first meeting of March. Unfortunately, that was not promoted by anybody. So I am asking Michelle at the next council meeting under unfinished business to have the marijuana topic with a section to open to the public. And if there's anyone that feels there's members of the community, that would be the time or place to have them come in with their comments.
That's good, because I feel like
And-
we just got a lot of research that I
Uh,
haven't had a chance to funnel through yet. So that's good for me. Thank you.
Councilman Fotopoulos, during your report, you had asked if we could revisit the vaccine topic. Did my report cover any, or did you want to go further on it?
Let's just really quick. I just wanted to thank you for your effort. You outlined it pretty comprehensively in your report. As you might agree, as they become more widely available, it makes sense for the local pharmacies to have them. I'm in agreement with you 100%. The governor is who makes that decision. I found that out tonight when I was doing research after a letter was written by a citizen to Councilwoman McNamara and I, and about Save on Drugs. One of the suggestions I've heard, and you may have heard, was that we can do a resolution, given that we have at least one independent pharmacy in town, and there's many in the surrounding area. We can do a resolution as a council and send it out to other our surrounding communities, and also send it up to the governor's office. What are your thoughts about that? I would support that if you were to come up with it, if that, and put your name on it, I would support it.
I mean, it's not about putting my name on it or anything. I know, to me, it's just about getting vaccinated. I'm not going to lie that unfortunately things turn very political. And I won't get into all that dialogue here, but not with Save-On, with other vaccine distributions. People want to talk about marijuana legislation, any of that, make it political, and difference of opinions, that's fine. When it comes to people saving lives, it should never be political.
So let's do a resolution.
So in regards to Save-On, though, I will say, though, the last call with the governor's office, with all the mayors from Middlesex, Mercer, and Monmouth, that was the hot topic. So they're hearing us loud and clear, supposedly, but I I don't know that I want to wait till the next meeting to draft a resolution. If you want, I can write a letter on behalf of the governing body and send a letter to the governor's office. If
That's fine.
everyone's in favor of that.
Yeah, of course. I heard a rumor that it might be the end of the month, that it might be the end of March, that they're going to open it up to independent pharmacies. Did you hear that rumor? And I'm saying rumor.
I know we don't usually discuss rumors on the dais, but I know what you're referring to. I'm not sure if you followed Senator Gopal's op-ed about it recently. He's been pushing forward as well with Ritesh. And I actually had a conversation with Shauna Sullivan as well. So there's not a level of government in the state that I have not addressed this with, as well as other mayors that have downtown pharmacies.
So you've done your due diligence. I think a letter from you and the council would benefit, would be good, but a resolution from all of us, if it's not going to be my suggestion, why don't we, maybe what we can do is write a letter from the mayor and council. We can all sign it virtually or whatever. And then if we're seeing that it's not getting enacted by the end of the month, let's have let's possibly have an outline of a resolution ready. I'll leave that to you because you're the one who's setting the agenda. Have a resolution ready to go at the next April meeting if they haven't done anything yet. I just want to support what you've been doing. I want the council to support what you've been, and not that we haven't been, but let's back it up and show the rest of the county too. I mean, that we do.
Okay.
I'm actually just drafting a letter on behalf of the council because our name's already on the letterhead.
Okay. I'll work that out.
I'm sorry.
I think you're saying that it says everyone's name is on the letterhead, that we don't have to have everyone sign it. That I could say on behalf of the governing body, since everyone's name's on the letterhead. Is what she said.
Okay, however you want.
I said we'll work it out. Okay. But is anyone in disagreement that we should be advocating for Save On? That's what I guess we just need to know.
I'm not in agreement for any pharmacy that's locally owned and managed that can touch anyone who get vaccinated.
Yeah, the industry term is independent pharmacies. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Wait.
I said I'm in agreement. We should be advocating for Save On.
But no one's against it, right? That's what I just want to make sure. Okay. So that's concludes new business and unfinished business that I had, unless anyone else had anything. Attorney's report.
Nothing at this meeting, Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to open to, hold on one second. I'm sorry. I forgot Jay wanted something.
Mayor, just a quick update. First of all, in response to the question by Mr. Lane regarding the speed limit sign on Broad Street, that is in the works. I expect you'll see that go up shortly. And more importantly, there was a mention in the committee report regarding the removal of the RV down at the property on West Front. That was actively underway. Darkness had terminated that, so they'll be back tomorrow.
Great. Can I have a motion to open the public?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Members of the public that are on video will call on first if you by show of hands. 5 minutes per person, please. Any members of the public on camera have any commentary? Mr. Graham? You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Graham.
Aye.
That's okay. Nope, you remuted yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Elmer J. Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Borough Council. Couple of things. On the Veterans Committee, what's the latest on that?
I know you were joining the meeting late this evening, but I did make a mention earlier that a lot of our spare time has been securing vaccinations for our residents, which is taking several hours a day. So, but hopefully we've made some pretty major headway in the last 7 days. So I'm hoping to resume back to many of the items pre-pandemic soon.
Okay. One more thing. On the Complete Streets Initiative, anything new on that?
On tonight's
Yeah, we did vote on that tonight.
we did, right? Like, am I drawing? Yeah, we're the demonstration project was voted on tonight to move forward with the county for the demonstration project on Atlantic and Maple.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other members of the public by show of hands? Mr. Straub?
Sorry, I was muted. On the vaccines, what is being done as far as helping Keyport residents obtain vaccine appointments? And you mentioned briefly something political. What exactly politically is keeping progress being made with vaccines?
In regards to securing vaccinations, we're working first on the residents that weren't able to secure transportation on their own or have mobility issues. And any other items as far as what we're securing. Madeline Costello can be contacted at the senior center. Sometimes the county has available vaccines at the end of the day. I think you'd have to get there within 30 minutes, but you can keep your name on a waiting list.
Is any of this information being disseminated publicly on I looked on CERT websites, emergency management websites, I'm sorry, Facebook pages. Is there any place to go for any updates on this information?
Monmouth County has all their updates on the Monmouth County government websites.
Monmouth County has what?
All the vaccine information and whatever transportation Monmouth County is providing.
Their vaccine information is incomplete, and if you click on the pink box that says register for vaccine, it takes you to a box that just says they're not available.
If you follow their social media pages, I see them make about an announcement once or twice a day with different pieces of updated information.
So Monmouth County Facebook is where to go?
Yeah. Yep. Monmouth County government. They make a lot of announcements on there.
And as far as the, you referred to political decisions?
I don't feel like discussing that at this point.
Well, if it affects the public and especially the public health, and you mentioned that there are political things keeping residents from getting vaccine appointments, you don't think that's appropriate to discuss?
No, because I took it up with the people that were making those decisions, and that's why there's vaccines now.
So you have gotten vaccines where people were trying to not allow vaccines, but you won't tell us who that is?
Correct.
Does that follow
Do you have any further
open public
questions?
meetings and being transparent?
Yes. Any further questions, Mr. Straub?
I don't agree with you. I don't think that if you're accusing someone or a group of people of preventing vaccine information getting out there and then not disclosing who that is, I don't think that's being transparent, but that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you for your opinion. Any other members of the public on the camera that wish to raise their hand? Any members on the phone line?
Michael Lane.
Go ahead, Mr. Lane.
I want to thank the borough administrator and members of council for the updated status report on the 25-mile-an-hour, the NPP floodgates, the abandoned RV being removed, and the report on the Environmental Commission meeting on Mariner Village. I have an item for the borough attorney, Miss London, and it has to do with the 7 Main Street distillery. The 2/1/21 ABC letter regarding the 3B DBR distillery at Main Street identified the craft distillery license 3D is the license, being authorized, which authorizes manufacturing up to 20,000 gallons of distilled alcohol. The wholesale and retail of this business, and the maintaining a warehouse. And so what separates this manufacturing operation from a Keyport GCD bakery or pizza manufacturing business is the wholesale and distribution aspects. I mean, the Keyport Pizza does not bake pizzas, wrap them up, and distribute them to Stop and Shop, ShopRite, Lavotti's. They manufacture them for use on their premises. So this distillery operation is dramatically different. And right now, the only place that allows a manufacturing with wholesale and distribution is our industrial zone. And it's improved in the industrial zones, but not the general commercial district. Then, building on the report that was put together for the marijuana use, the 128-21 attorney's report on marijuana states, because cannabis businesses are not a use explicitly permitted by the zoning ordinance, establishment that of the cannabis business are prohibited in the borough. This is a prohibited use. Similarly, since a distillery with wholesale and distribution and warehousing business is not a use explicitly permitted in the GC zone, how can this operation be established? It's allowed in the industrial zones, but not in the GC zones. So I raised the issue at the council meeting back when in April, and I'm sorry, not in April, in February. And so could you give me some insight in how this differs from what the ruling you made on marijuana and the fact that it is not a specifically permitted use in the GCD, and especially with the fact that it's targeted to not only serve drinks at the location, but to also be a significant business in terms of distribution in the state. And that's distribution to bars in Matawan, distribution to bars in Asbury Park, etc. And that's manufacturing, dramatically different type of manufacturing with wholesale. So I'd really like to understand.
Mr. Lane, I've
Mr.
written
Lane.
down your question and I will take a look at it. I cannot give you an answer right now. I need to look at it in more detail. You've provided a lot of information. You made a lot of statements, so I need to review them.
All right. If it's okay, I will send my statement that I read to, I guess, the borough clerk and ask her to forward it to you.
Mr. Lane, you can send anything you have to Mr. Delaney. I believe Mr. Delaney has already answered you. Sorry, Ms. London. But that was looked into, and the zoning officer did have your commentary forwarded to him by the administrator, Mr. Delaney, and I believe the zoning opinion still stands.
Well, I'm
So if you
asking
have
for a
any-
legal opinion, not for the zoning officers. I
You-
believe he's wrong,
You know,
completely wrong.
You can defer your questions to Mr. Delaney, and he will move them up the chain.
I would appreciate that. I will send it to Mr. Delaney and look forward to a response from the borough attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Lane, I haven't forgotten, it wasn't part of my report, but I have not forgotten about the Waverly question you raised. Trevor's not on the call tonight, and I don't have a prepared update from him.
Thank you.
It's not off my radar. Any other members on the phone line wish to speak?
John Merla, 34 Broad Street, Keyport.
Hi, Mr. Miller.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. Couple questions. I did come in late, so it might have already been discussed and approved when the ball field approval for Main Street was approved for the school. Is the borough requiring a certificate of insurance?
It's already been provided, sir.
Okay. My follow-up question for that is then, even though it's a girls softball team practicing on that field, I would ask the borough to consider center field and left field, since there's only a 3-foot, maybe 8-inch fence, and then a little buffer, and then the skate park. There are plenty of girls in the high school softball team that can hit that ball over that fence, including the fence behind the buffer zone between the ball field and the skate park. I really think that I urge the borough. I had asked questions prior and asked if that was project was referred to the planning board. I was told yes by one member and no by another. So I'm going to have to do my due diligence and look at the planning board minutes to see if that was ever discussed. However, Mayor, from a safety perspective, I honestly believe we should choose to do what they do on Atlantic Street and get the proper netting to secure if a ball was to go over that field and a youngster was skateboarding to avoid an incident. It's just my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I know Councilman Sheridan had requested that numerous times to be built in last year's budget. It was not able to be built into the budget. The budget for this year is being reviewed. It is a $12,000 item. But you know, your concerns have definitely been expressed by members on this dais for the last year before the park even opened and when it was being built, when it was still under construction. So your point is valid. So Jay, when we let the school know about the approval for the Main Street Park, can you, maybe it's really just throwing or pitching, and we should probably refrain from batting practice there.
Mayor, I have no recollection of Mr. Sheridan requesting that, just so you know. This is the first I'm hearing of it. Actually, not today, but just, you know, just so you know, it's not in writing or anything, so.
No, it absolutely is, including quotes from Rhett Trevor. It goes back when the park was first broke ground, when Mr. Gallo and Mr. Henshaw was here.
In finance, or in the finance meetings, or in general? I guess in general, that's probably right. But just, you know, neither here nor there, for sure. So just
Mr. Murley, I don't know if you heard, I just asked Mr. Delaney to address that with the school, not to have hitting practice there.
I did. Thank you. I'm just looking out for,
no,
you know,
it's a valid concern.
Okay. The other question I have is, just to give you a feel, I'm totally opposed to the way we do things now than when we did prior, only because when I say that, I'm referring to an individual, a resident, or a business owner filing a complaint within the borough. I know they refer you to go online and fill out a 311 and sign your, you know, tell what the issue is, which department you feel should address it, and then give your name. Me personally, I don't have a problem. If I have a problem with anything, I'll say my name at a public meeting and I'll say what the incident is. However, I do have a problem with, I filed 2 complaints 3 weeks ago, and I've yet to hear. The Board of Health, Donna did call me and said that we had your email regarding her issue. So that I did get. But on the other 2 issues that I asked for, which one was a property maintenance and the other, to be honest with you, was a borough problem, I'm yet to get a return email. And that's one of the main reasons I oppose this process, because I don't think it's, first of all, I think you're going to hear from less of the public because of that process, because they're not going to want to put their name on a complaint for obvious reasons. But me personally, I think 3 weeks is a long time to get a return on a complaint, especially when, just hear me out, especially when I feel the issues went on for years, and it is a serious violation. There is a garage falling down in our community on a certain street, and it's been that way for at least 3 years, maybe more. And it needs to be not only to satisfy me and my concerns, God forbid it falls and kills someone. I think it's that bad. And I just think that the borough should incorporate, when you fill out a 311, that within 24 to 48 hours, you get a return phone call, which I did from the Board of Health, but no other department.
I couldn't agree with you more. Mr. Delaney wanted to comment on that, though.
Thanks, Mayor. I was just going to suggest, Mr. Merle, if you'd like to provide me with the details of that, I'll follow up.
I can, but I've already done that via email to the borough process, 311. And I think it's ridiculous.
We'll pull the queue tomorrow.
Okay, I'll take care of it. The other
no,
thing
no,
is-
I'm saying we'll pull the queue of all of the reports. I'll ask for, I'll have Jay pull the entire list for the last 3 weeks and see what's not getting answered.
I appreciate that, Mayor. Mayor, my last concern is, and I know you're working hard on the vaccine as the council members, and I appreciate that. I am vaccinated, and you know, I feel for other people, but my main concern is, I honestly believe, and I don't know how we can do this, but I believe the most essential people right now in our community are our public employees. They're essential because they're going to work every day. And I think we should try very hard to get them vaccinated.
The CDC guidelines originally had them looped into category 1A. Then
Yeah.
they moved them to 1B, and then they moved them out. That was a topic of conversation with the governor's office last week. Public, and someone else brought up that lifeguards aren't considered emergency personnel. I know our CERT team has been asking as well.
Yeah.
And I think we're on the same page as that. I
Yeah.
think the
Well,
agree with
I
you.
appreciate it, and I appreciate all the work that you're doing in the council to get as many people as vaccinated as possible. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any other members on the phone line? Any other members that joined in late on camera? Going once, going twice? Please have a motion to close to the public.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I know normally we would be closing to the public now, but since I had to take a moment before for the proclamation reading, maybe we'll end on a happier note, and I'll be able to get through it. So I'd like to take a moment to read the proclamation now. So it's National Irish American Heritage Month. And whereas National Irish American Heritage Month was first celebrated in 1991 to honor the success and legacy of Irish immigrants and their descendants living in the United States to coincide with St. Patrick's Day. And whereas in the 1800s, living conditions in Ireland began to deteriorate, which led to more than 1 million Irish immigrants to cross the ocean towards the promised land of America. Many of the immigrants arrived with a skill set that was needed in the United States, and they helped with building America's infrastructure, including roadways, railroads, bridges, canals, and general construction, as well as helping to fill ranks in the military. Whereas Irish Americans have contributed in other areas in the United States, such as in literature, film, the fine and performing arts, religion, and sports. Some famous Irish Americans include John Hancock, a signer of the Declaration of Independence, Henry Ford, founder of Ford Motor Company. And whereas Irish immigrants suggested several traditional Irish recipes to use ingredients available in the United States. They introduced foods here such as Irish soda bread and shepherd's pie. The traditionally known Irish American meal of corned beef and cabbage was created by immigrants in the United States when the recipe was modified from the traditional recipe of bacon and cabbage. Irish step dancing is a deep-rooted tradition in the United States and competes for the world title every year at the All-Ireland Championship on Easter. And whereas St. Patrick's Day was originally a religious holiday to honor St. Patrick, who introduced Christianity to Ireland in the 5th century. Although St. Patrick wore blue, green usually represents the holiday because it is reported that St. Patrick used a shamrock to explain the Holy Trinity. The world's first St. Patrick's Day parade was held in 1601 in St. Augustine, Florida. Boston's first parade was in 1737. New York City's was in 1762. And Keyport's was in 2005. And whereas today there are more than 33 million Irish Americans living in the United States, which is 5 times the amount of people living in Ireland. St. Patrick's Day is celebrated by the Irish and non-Irish alike by enjoying time together, eating and drinking while watching or participating in parades. I now therefore hereby proclaim March 2021 as National Irish American Heritage Month, and inspire all residents of the borough to educate themselves more about the contributions that the Irish American have made to the United States. Thank you for allowing me to read that at the end and the beginning instead. As my maternal grandparents are from Ireland, as well as my paternal great-grandparents or grandparent. As you all know, I celebrate St. Patrick's Day pretty hard. And it's a reminder to hug your loved ones because tomorrow's my first one without my dad. So continue to be safe and be well. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Have a good night.